Ambassador Sarna, thank you so much for joining us here on I24 News. Now, firstly, I'd like to talk about your tenure as ambassador to Washington. It seems that the Trump administration and India have enjoyed a very successful relationship.
I think the India-US relationship is today in a very, very good place. It's a strategic partnership of significant scope and very important for both countries. And I think the relationship, which has been on an upward trajectory, I would say, for the last 2 decades, has got a new impetus in the last 2 years with working with the Trump administration. I saw instant chemistry between the two leaders, and they had a great conversation lasting several hours.
You hosted Ivanka Trump in Hyderabad.
She found it very exciting from the statements that she made during and after the visit.
It used to be a Pacific Command, now it's IndoPacific Command. Were you instrumental in that? Was that happened very recently?
The Pacific Command was more of a kind of a military construct. But when you see the Indo-Pacific, it goes beyond the military aspects. There is, of course, maritime security. There is ensuring the freedom of the seas, the freedom of trade and transit. But there is also a much wider agenda there in terms of, security in its widest terms.
Let's talk about your time as ambassador to Israel. Now, you were there for several years. Now, what were your fondest memories of that time?
Today and during my period there, I think we had extensive relations, not only in security and defense terms, which are an important aspect of our relationship, but in several other areas. For instance, I don't know how many people know of the deep connections we have in water and agriculture.
Prime Minister Modi is the first Indian Prime Minister to actually visit Israel, and it seemed like he and Benjamin Netanyahu also had great personal chemistry.
The fact that they get along well with each other. I don't know if you saw some photographs of Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu on the beach. So it shows that there's a very positive energy in the relationship.
You discovered a very compelling story in Jerusalem concerning very historic ties between India and Israel. Can you please, and you wrote a novel about it, can you please tell me the story?
So this was the Indian Hospice, which actually was set up about 800 years ago. It's full of history, because during the World War II, for instance, it used to be a rest and recreation center for Indian soldiers in that area. So it's part of Indian history.
You're also a very successful novelist. Can you tell me what's next for you?
I'm looking forward to getting some rest and then getting into some writing. I have a couple of books in my head and some on paper. It's a great honor and a privilege to serve as a diplomat in Washington. And it's a great learning process.